Hi, it's Scott Whimpey here, Director of First Aid, Accident and Emergency. I've actually been involved with the Foundation for over 13 years and originally got involved by doing first aid services on the Kokoda Challenge and helping out all of the weary people that were competing in the 48 and the 96. So I really know what I'm talking about when it comes to first aid management. I then got involved by actually competing with a team over 2 to 3 years with Nike Hammer and also Team Condev. And we broke a couple of records in those years as well, winning the event in a time of 11 hours and 19 minutes. So we know how to go hard through this event and we can see the best and the worst of people and all the participants as well. So today I wanted to give you some really awesome tips on first aid and how to get to the finish line and make sure you make it a team event. First of all, it's important to remember that given it's such a huge endurance event over such massive terrain, ups and downs, then essentially we have a lot of issues that can really wear people down through fatigue. One of those issues is ITB syndrome. And ITB syndrome is essentially the iliotibial band from coming down the hills. Now that can really play havoc on your knees. And after, say, 10 or 15 hours, it can put a lot of people out of the event. So I've got a bit of a technique on how to manage ITB syndrome that I want to show you now. And it's a short video on how to manage the ITB and that soreness in knees once it starts to come on. So check it out now. Okay, so with ITB syndrome, we've got this issue that comes down around the kneecap here. So to keep continuous tension on this iliotibial band, first of all, and this would go directly on the skin, I'm going to go just directly 2 fingers above the kneecap, and I'm just going to put one basic lining of a bandage as a bit of a, I suppose, bed for the tape. And then from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my strapping tape, okay, and I'm going to use this just to tension up across the top of the bandage. So I just go straight across here like this, and I get a bit of tension, and you can see that tension starting to apply. And this here is for when you have, I'm going to go around twice, okay, for when you have ITB syndrome. Just basically rip the tape. This can be adjusted on the fly. Continual tension, not so tight that it cuts circulation off, but this will help you get to the finish line with ITB syndrome. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is blister prevention and blister care. And really, with a lot of these events, normally blisters don't happen early on in the event, but because we have a lot of creek crossings going up to the halfway point if you're doing the full event, and even just sweating and fatigue going up and down and possibly even wet terrain, then the feet tend to get very wet. And what happens to your feet when they get wet? Well, blisters start to occur or hot spots start to happen from rubbing with the sweat or the water in your shoes. So what do? You stop straight away and you clean that area up and you tape over the top of that area, okay? If there is a small blister under 10 cents, 10-cent piece in size, then you just tape over it. But if the blister's bigger, we actually recommend, which is against all the first aid information and knowledge that we have, but what we say is to pop that bigger blister so it doesn't get in the way, lance it, give it a good clean and sterile, and actually tape over that. One of the ways that we do prevent this with a lot of the competitors as well is just pre-taping your feet. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you how to tape toes and also some of the feet that have been taped in years gone by in the Kokoda Challenge. So check it out now. So here we go. We've had a blister occur on one of the toes, so I'm just going to show you how I would strap every individual toe. First of all, I'm going to get a piece about that long and I'm going to go directly over the toe and round the other side. Now it's important not to go too tight with this, so we just want to keep it nice and loose. And I like to do these a night before ideally because the heat in the tape molds. Okay, the second piece I'm going to get, I'm just going to go all around the entire toe, right around the whole thing, and that just holds it in place. Now if you do this the night before an event, you can also trim off those bits, but you can also do it the day of the event as well. So band-aids generally don't stick too well, the strapping tape is the way to go for blisters. Whoa, geez, that was pretty full on, wasn't it? Are we scaring you yet? I hope so, because this event's pretty tough and you need to prepare and make sure that you're getting ready for all of this during training. Please keep into account that you shouldn't be doing this for the first time in the event. Whether it's the smaller event, the mid-size event or the large event, you should be trialling this right now in training so you know that your body and your feet can handle it. I also wanted to give you a bit of an insight on one of the unusual things that happens to people when they're out in the event for long periods of time, and that's when their wobbly bits start to jiggle around a little bit. Now what happens with the sweat and a bit of the rubbing and the wobbly bits moving around is chafing, and that also is quite nasty and can put a lot of people out of this event. So if you do have any chafing in your armpits or in your groin area or wherever it might be, even nipples and things like that, which is pretty common as well, we recommend to either tape that area up, or the second B plan would be to use like a triple B product or some skin slick, or even some Vaseline in that area, and even remembering to use the tights or the skins to help aid with that area as well. So if you prep up for it, that will sort of be a bit of prevention is the cure, what we think in this sort of situation as well. I also wanted to talk about a really important factor within an endurance event, and that's nutrition and hydration. It's really important to remember that you hydrate effectively the week leading into the Kokoda Challenge, which really even should be starting now. Making sure that your pee is almost clear is a good indication that you are well hydrated. Drink plenty of water, okay, but when you're in the event itself, water won't do it because it doesn't have your electrolytes, your potassiums, your sodiums and your magnesiums, which you lose when you're pounding out some of those hills and downhill sections. So what you need to do is possibly get some hydration. A good expert tip from me is to use 50% sports drink and 50% water, because if you use it straight, it's a bit too strong on your stomach. And the other expert tip is don't take big glugs at a time. If we were to give you blood in an emergency situation, we'd just drip feed it into your system. And because you're exercising and going quite hard with a high heart rate, all the blood's in your legs, and if you start drinking and eating a lot while you're on the track, then you'll end up cramping and it won't go down, which we all know what that means. Pretty messy for the rest of the team and you. So just drip feed your nutrition and your hydration, okay, just a little bit at a time. Also, I like to separate my nutrition with what I eat on the track, which is just nibbling on little things. Don't forget all your natural foods, things like, you know, small amounts of banana maybe, some grapes, pineapple is great for digestion as well, and even some orange or nectarines are good for energy. So always go back to some of your naturals, and you can also use some of your gels and things like that as well. I loved baked potatoes because they're full of carbohydrates and they're quite starchy and easy to digest and very cheap as well. Okay, so that's an expert tip from me, just to have a little Ziploc bag of baked potatoes on the go. Now when you get into a checkpoint, especially as you get later into the challenge, it gets freezing cold. So if you've got a checkpoint there or someone's looking after you, a bit of warm chicken soup goes a long way. You know, things that are easy to digest, that are full of carbs and full of energy as well. So your soups and your noodles are fantastic when it comes to it. They're easy to get in and out for your checkpoint crew as well. It is important to also make sure that your team does have a first aid kit. So we have some great little first aid kits for as little as $10 that you can carry on the track as well. So I'm hoping you got some cool expert tips here from an industry leader and an expert on the Kokoda Challenge. We support the Kokoda Challenge because we're a local business and we love looking after the Kokoda Youth Foundation. We've done this by way of supporting them through training and services for the event as well. So if you want to support a local organisation such as ours, come and do some training with us, or grab one of our kits, or even look at a defib for your workplace. Thanks heaps, that's Scotty Whimpey from First Aid Accident Emergency signing out on this year's Kokoda Challenge.